Hi, everyone. This is Mike Leahy. Thanks for joining us today for our Pulse Dashboard supply chain training. And we appreciate your support of our software. Um, Assisting me today will be Stacy Bennison. Some of you know Stacy. She's actually worked at a Macola customer of ours that was an early adopter of Dashboard, and she's been with us about a year. So here's my picture. We can all shake hands over the phone. We have been in business forever. We have worked with the Macola software forever. We are manufacturing and distribution ERP experts. We're based in Cincinnati, Ohio. And what we do for a living is we help people make better use of their Macola software and make better and faster decisions. And whoop, um, as we go along, we're going to talk more and more about having things in writing. What are the date fields that we're using as a company? Uh, when we need to reorder, how do we reorder? How much do we? What's our criteria for reordering? How much are we going to order? All that kind of stuff. So it's going to be important as you go along to be thinking about putting your policies in writing. I joke sometimes that um, in Macola, there's all kinds of date fields. So when you're taking a customer order, what's the date field that you're using for the drop date? What's the date that you're committed to, get it to them by? And a lot of people think, well, this is, everybody knows that, but that's not been our experience. And I joke sometimes that there needs to be a sheet of paper that's on the company bulletin board that says, these are the dates that we're going to use. So you'll hear more about that as we go along. I'm going to get out of this PowerPoint and then we'll focus. There's some people who are a little new to Dashboard. I was going to go through just a little bit of fundamentals to get everybody sort of warmed up. Basically, what we're doing in Dashboard is all of the data that's in Macola is available at your fingertips. And in addition to that, we have extended the data. So let's just use this inventory status screen as an example, and you'll see what I mean. Item number, this is the inventory item master and the item location file. It's pulling this thing in. I've chosen to bring on the location, the item number, the description, various fields that are in the blue. And I can sort on these fields. I can filter if I want to look up everything that starts with or contains the letter E or contains 407. I can do that. That's what we call filtering. I also can go to my column chooser. Remember a second ago I said that all the data fields that are in Macola are available to you. And here they all are. In other words, these are all the fields that have to do with inventory, quantities, various things like that. It's not containing customer names and addresses because that'll be in another screen. So the idea being that when you click on this column chooser, you're seeing all the data fields that have anything to do with the subject that you're on. And we have converted all of the data fields to business English. So for example, we have on hand about or on hand, the various things. If you hover over it, you'll see where this is coming from because some of these, I'll filter this to put an item here. Some of these fields are coming directly out of Macola. You can see that this one's, so if you hover over the fields, in other cases, we have created additional fields, and this is the point I want to make right now. So for example, if you wanted to look historically at what your on-hand quantity was over the past 12 months or over the past 24 months, you can see that we've added that in here. So these fields are all available at your fingertips. So the idea being that we could look back 24 months to see what the on-hand dollars were, the on-hand quantity, what we produced, the manufacturing quantity and the dollars, and so on and so on. One of the points I want to make here is that these fields that are in the cream color, they are they're at the top of the list of fields that we have added. So, for example, months of inventory on hand, not in Macola. We've added that in dashboard. What was my usage quantity over the past 3, 6, and 12 months? Now, this is my average, but we also have the total. So, for example, if you're doing trending and you're wanting to see over the past year, has this item been trending up or down? You could create a formula that would then give you, one number. It's up 10% or it's down 10%. In addition to this, we have date of last usage, date of last inventory activity, date of last purchase, date of last manufacturer, and the date of last sale. Now, some of these become a little bit arbitrary in that some people have different definitions of what usage means. But to clear this, we have adopted APIX rules. So I sent everybody ahead of time our Pulse dashboard definitions document. So it explains very clearly in there, according to APIX rules, what does usage mean? What does inventory activity mean, and so on. So if you are an analyst or a buyer and having this information available to you, so for example, you could see, let's look at this one right here. The usage over the past 3 and 6, 12 months has gone up dramatically. The past 12 months, the average was 4.1. Now it's 11.3. So you can see this. If you didn't have this, you would never know that the usage has basically tripled over the past 12 months. So I wanted to bring this up at the beginning to talk about the fact that we have this additional information that we've developed, and we have it in other areas too, in accounting, customer average days to pay, a whole variety of things. But today we're just focusing on supply chain. So another area that I wanted to talk about was that if you're new to the software, if you right-click on the blue bar, so what I can do first of all is if I double-click on the blue bar, that refreshes the screen. So I'm double-clicking, that's refreshing that. I can right-click and say refresh also, but so you need to experiment. If you're brand new to the software, when you right-click on some of these areas, they mean different things. If I right-click here, it's a completely different menu. Okay, so this gets us going. We know that we have all the information in Macola available to us, in this case for supply chain. We know that we have embellished the product greatly to know date of last whatever, date of last activity, date of last usage, trending, months of inventory on hand. We've also have in here inventory turns, something else that's not in Macola. Okay, so this gets everybody now on sort of an equal footing. And so what we're going to start talking about is everything that we do in the software, in ERP software, is all date dependent. It is based on the accuracy of that date. And I'll give you an example. When are we supposed to ship this order to the customer? Well, what's the data field in Macola that we're going to use? Now, Macola has promise dates, it has request dates, it has some other dates, it has this thing called REQ date, and that means the required ship date. It means I need to ship it on the 15th in order to get it there by the 30th. I promised the delivery on the 30th, but I need to ship it on the 15th. All of these dates become a blur. So the first thing that I want to talk about today is that your users, everybody in the company needs to be trained as to what date fields we're going to use for customer orders, for purchase orders, and for production orders. And based on the companies that we work with, there's not consistency. One person in order entry and customer order entry may leave all the dates the same. So the promise date becomes today, the request date becomes today, the required ship date becomes today. Well, that's nonsensical. In purchasing, well, are we using the request date or are we using the promise date? So just something to be thinking about, that as we go along, you'll see the whole system is based on the accuracy of those dates. Okay, so now we're going to dive in and we're going to look at the dashboard MRP setup screen, because this is the basis for how everything works in dashboard in the supply chain area. So for example, we talked before about dates. Okay, in customer orders, what is the date that's driving the software to know we have to have this available? In this case, it's the promise date. But look at all these dates that are in Macola. So we have to know we're going to use the promise date. The same thing down here for purchase orders. We're going to be basing on the request date, not the promise date, not the order date, but the request date. Now what we're doing is we're starting to get into how dashboard is working. So when we are looking at purchase orders, this is saying, do we want to look at only unreleased orders? Do we want to look at released orders only? Do we want to look at printed orders only? Do we want to look at all of them? And in my case, I would suggest that we leave and have all of them. And one of the reasons I see a lot of times is someone will create an unreleased purchase order and then forget to release it. They've sent it to the vendor, they've communicated to the vendor, but they forgot to release it. So this is kind of a fail-safe, and you should include all of them. And the same thing down here for production orders, for pop orders. That's pretty much, it's this the beginning date and the end date. So down here, because a little bit later we're going to talk about forecasting. This is telling us whether we're going to incorporate Macola's MRP forecast or whether we're going to incorporate the forecast from Pulse Dashboard. And then down here, this is telling us how many weeks we want to be looking out in our MRP regeneration. So the difficulty with this screen is that it's under administration, and some of you are going to be prohibited from accessing this. So that may be something you need to talk to your administrator, your dashboard administrator. Okay, so that gets us off to the beginning of that there's an MRP setup screen that needs to be looked at to make this supply chain work. The next thing I want to talk about is in that same concept of dates, is that you need to constantly be looking at your open customer orders, your open purchase orders, and your production orders to be sure that those dates are reasonable. So I'll give you an example here. We're looking at purchase orders that are scheduled to be received, and we're using request dates. We have an order out here from 2018. We have a few orders from 2020. We have some orders that are some months old. So it's like, what's the deal here? Is the vendor just waiting? Is the truck there at the vendor? This is sarcasm. Is the vendor have the truck ready, the engine's running, and they're just waiting to ship this product to you because it's a little bit late? Well, you know that's not the case. The vendor's long since forgotten about this, or you've long since forgotten. But these items are all being incorporated into the MRP supply chain, whether it's in Macola or whether it's in Dashboard. So the idea being, either get rid of this, maybe you ordered 10 and only 9 came in, and you know that remaining single item is never coming in, to get rid of these, because this has a tremendous impact, a direct impact on the supply chain process. So that's my point there, was to constantly be reviewing these open orders. Now, if I go and look in production, I have a pop orders to be completed. I'm in pretty good shape here. I only have a few that are really old. I don't have anything that's 2 years old. If I go into the executive module and I drill down into my backlog, then I have to bring up my screen that's by item or by ship date. And here here I can see that I'm in good shape. I don't have any orders that have a ship date that is months old. Okay, so we've talked about the need to constantly be looking at, and what this really means is that somebody in the company has to be the owner of the purchase order. Somebody has to be the owner of the item master and the owner of the customer file, so that there's multiple people looking over this and making sure that these dates, knowing that these dates, the bad dates, the old dates, will adversely affect our whole supply chain tools. Now, the next item that I want to talk about is the need, or this constantly changing. This is sort of the new reality, the constantly changing promise dates by the vendors. They're being squeezed. In some cases, they're delaying. In some cases, they're rationing out. So we have a new product called our Purchase Order Manager, which is a web-based piece of software that allows your vendors to update the due dates, the delivery dates into Macola real time. So they go to their website, they log in, they see this purchase order. We'll go back to it here. They see this purchase order here that's really old, and they can update the date, and that will update Macola. So it's not just a website to look, it's a website that pushes data back into Macola. And then what they do, the software does, is it sends you an email that says, guess what? Here is my new delivery date for this purchase order 1118. And it's doing that real time. So that's something that you may want to consider if you are really getting hammered with constantly changing due dates, or in a lot of cases, the vendor never even has the courtesy to tell you. But this would allow them to see all of their, so like, let's say this was Akron Supply. We'll use this as an example. These are their 6 purchase orders. So these are the orders that would come up on their screen, and then they would right-click, change the date, and then press enter, and it would send that over to you. This portal software also has the capability to include drawings, text, technical specs, messages back and forth. So it's more than just changing due dates. It's a whole collaboration piece of software that really will strengthen the bond with your vendors. Now, not all vendors will go along with this, but the big vendors, or the good vendors, definitely will. And they need a place to communicate. They don't want to be sending faxes or emails constantly, not knowing if they're even getting to the right person. Okay, so now that we know that the dates are important, that things are starting to fall into place. So we're going to now talk about shortages, and we have 2 programs here for shortages. In customer service, we have this called customer order shortages. So I'm going to demonstrate how this works. I go up here to the red setup, and I put in the number of days that I want to look into the future. So, for example, today, for our purpose, let's make believe it's 7:30 in the morning on Monday, and the idea is I put in 5 days. Can I make it through Friday? What are going to be my shortages between now and Friday? Now, when I click OK, you saw how, I'm going to refresh that. You saw how quick that is, a full MRP regeneration that we've done to look at items that are on customer orders. So this is saying down here, if we look, there's 21 items, 21 finished good items. We're not talking about components. We're talking about items that are on customer orders. So we can take a look at this first one, this wheel. We're just going to drill down, and we're going to see that red is not good, green is good. And what this means then is that, I think this is backwards, just a second. Yep, I'm sorry, this is backwards. Okay, what I did is I sorted it down by demand replenishment date. So these first orders that are due in May and then the first in June, I have enough on-hand quantity to ship those. After that, I do not have enough. And the idea being then I have replenishments that are scheduled, but they're scheduled to come in too late. If you look here, these are all 2021. This replenishment is not scheduled to come in until 2022. So these are kind of messy dates, but the point being that that's what this is doing. So if you're the customer service manager, your job is to go down and decide, what are we going to do here? And these are again backwards. I'm sorry. Here, so we're in trouble. Everything, the production orders are coming in too late. So you can lean on production and change there. If this was an item for resale, you could call the vendor, or you could call up the customer and say, I'm sorry. But the idea being that these 21 items will prevent you from shipping everything on time between now and Friday. Now, maybe by Wednesday, you have a handle on this, and now you want to go and say, I want to look at everything for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to go 14 days. And now I have 29 items instead of 21. And I think you saw how we did this. I can drill down into each one, see the underlying detail, make sure this is sorted correctly. And okay, so this now we've just talked about pinpointing customer order shortages. Now we're going to come over to production, and we have the same thing. We have component shortages. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to look out the next 5 days. Can I make it through Friday? I have 37 items that are preventing me from shipping on time. And I have to go down through each one and see what the situation is here. And I'll get this down. There we go. Now, what you're also seeing for the first time is you're seeing a forecast come in. So it's not just a matter of existing production orders that are causing demand. It's now showing you the forecast quantities and the dates that need to be accommodated as well. Okay, so we've gone through customer order shortages, we've gone through manufacturing shortages, and at this point, what I wanted to talk about is if we were having a company meeting and going through all of these screens, there just would be huge amounts of confusion. So my suggestion here is we're really into a training environment. We have to create a culture in the company where everybody understands the principles of MRP and the importance of these accurate dates. So again, everybody in the company who's involved here needs to understand, especially the dates. There's probably more people that are changing the dates or affecting the dates. But there needs to be a wide group of people in the company who understand, the principle of this is just demand and replenishment, and it's time phasing it, but it's depending on those dates. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is importing your sales forecast into dashboard. And maybe before we do that, Stacy, are there any questions that have come up, or are there any items that I've overlooked to talk about?
No, I don't think so. We don't have any questions up to this point.
Okay, thank you. So in the sales and marketing module, you have the ability, and this is a little bit embarrassing because I have the forecast in there, but it's not showing right. But these are all sales forecasts by item, by salesperson, by customer, and so on. This item and location entry, this is the one that is for importing your sales forecast. And the way we do it is we have the sales forecast by units and by dollars, and you can even forecast average selling price or target margin. So for some reason, this isn't showing. Um, I had problems with my database this morning, but the data is in there, and as we saw it before. So the idea being that what what our software is doing is it's taking that forecast. Let's come out of here just for a minute. Go back to, remember when we were at this here before, on the screen before. We're telling the software, are we going to use the pulse forecast? Here's our forecasting section. Or are we going to read the Macola MRP forecast? But in either case, what it's doing is it's taking those finished good items, it's exploding the bill of material down to its lowest level. Macola handles 11 layers, 11 levels of bill of material. It explodes it all the way down, and then it separates the purchased items from the manufactured items, and then incorporates that into the MRP software, into the supply chain software. So you probably will need a little bit of assistance from Tom Schindler, our support dashboard support person. Something is hanging this up here. Yeah. Oh, it's refreshing. Okay. There's something that we do that's kind of interesting here is I refreshed this software an hour ago. And what happens is if you've not touched the software for an hour, for 60 minutes, and then you want to do something, it is going to refresh the software for you. It wants to make sure that you're using the latest data in your database. So we might have to wait a second here. I'm sorry about that. Okay, there we are. So maybe that was good that you saw that because, again, as a safeguard to make sure that you're always using the latest data in Macola, because this is real time into Macola. Now, if you were away from your desk and just wanted to, you could go up here, you could right click and say reset cache data and refresh. And what that means is it is going back to square one and refreshing the data from square one, from the baseline. Okay. So again, when it comes time to import your sales forecast, give our support desk a call. Now, one thing I didn't talk about earlier is that with our software, you get unlimited phone support, you get unlimited training, you get unlimited retraining. If you go up to help and you go to about, then this is Tom's phone number right here, Tom Schindler, our support consultant. And then this, if you click here, this will send an email to him. So the deeper we get into the supply chain, the more complicated it gets. So feel free to call us at any time with any kind of questions. Okay. One thing that I wanted to talk about next was this is a capability within our software that is not well known. And that is, okay, in this case here, I want to look at, these are my open purchase orders. And what I can do is, I'll widen this here. This is the purchase order number. I can right click on this purchase order. I can say Macola process, and I can go in and change the date. So recall in Macola, changing the dates of an existing printed released order is not something that you can do easily. So in this case here, you just go here and you change the date. And if this wasn't using promise date, but you could do the same thing there. So again, I'll demonstrate that on any purchase order number. You right click, go to Macola process, go to edit purchase order. And there it is. Now, since we're talking about this, let's extend this a little further. Let's go into our production orders. We only have this capability that I'm going to show you right now for pop orders, um, um, but that's what the majority of people are using. So I can go right click, I can say Macola process, and I can edit the pop order. And what that means is I can change the due date. Oh, and since I have the bill of material up here, I can change the bill of material. So if you are a company where you have substitutions, and so you mentioned at the beginning that you need to use this kind of poly bag, but sometime later somebody changes it because they substituted it. There's no easy way in Macola to accommodate that. So this allows you to change the bill of material, change the due date, and this also allows you to report production. So that's a handy feature to know. So again, purchase orders, production orders, right click, go to Macola process, go to edit, and you can make changes. And for some people in this meeting today, this may be the most important part that you get out of the whole thing, because you're getting bombarded with supply chain changes, due date changes, and you can't keep up with it using the traditional Macola. Okay. Now recall at the very beginning I said every company does supply chain differently. Every company does MRP differently. So one of the things that we're going to talk about next is in our inventory module, we have this program called Recalculate Min-Max Safety Stock and PO Lead Times. So let's separate this into two parts. Let's separate this into the min-max safety stock and then separate that from the PO lead time. So what this is doing is when I click on calculate values, it looks up to see what in this case, this is the current min, and the program is suggesting that it be based on the rules. There's rules behind this. It's recommending a change to this. These are 0 for some reason, and it's recommending these. And I won't go into the way this works, but there's rules that are built into this that dictate the calculation of the min, max, and safety stock. And then there's some setup here for this. Now this is not included within the standard software. So for those of you, most of you may not know that this exists. But the idea being, if you're working off of reorder levels, and that's not to say you're going to for all items, it may be that you're using a forecast and using traditional MRP, but for the purpose of this is again calculating the min, showing you what it was, and then the max, and there's even a cost difference here. So to accommodate this, this just brought up, showing you the dollar amount, and then you can include the safety stock if you want to. Okay, so the same thing, and then if you click on OK, this update values, then these numbers will be pushed into Macola. And the same thing for lead times. I messed up once here, and I changed them all by mistake instead of leaving them the way they were. So this is for those people again that are using reorder levels. This might be extremely helpful. This for PO lead times. Again, if we look back here to the setup, it's saying for lead times, what are we going to use? The past 6 months, the past 12 months. So if you want to, for reorder levels and for lead times, running this once a month, once every few weeks, will keep everything perfectly aligned based on what's happening. because that reorder level, if you're using reorder levels, is based on volume, it's based on usage. So if usage is going up, you're going to get cut short, you're going to be short. If your usage is going down, you're going to be making too many purchase orders and overstocking. So again, if you're using reorder levels, we have this program that will recalculate the min-max safety stock and the PO lead times. So the PO lead times becomes the most valuable way of keeping that going. So I wanted to talk next about, I'm going to go into our MRP software here. This is our MRP module. And I'm going to show you some of the capabilities here. Now, this may be too complex for some people listening. It may be that you're going to use, traditional reorder levels and let that handle things. You need to get a handle on your lead times, so on and so on, because your calculation of your reorder levels probably is time sensitive. How much have we used? What's been our usage? So maybe before I dive into this, Stacy, I see that there is a hand raised. Are there any questions that you want to bring up at this point?
There's a hand raised, but I can't tell who it is, to be honest with you. So I don't have any questions in the queue. So I'm not sure if somebody can do that again. It didn't give me the person, unfortunately.
Yeah, I just went through the names. I could see the person, but I think they took their hand down.
Yeah, maybe it was a mistake.
Okay.
It was Miss Charlie, and she says it was an accident. We'll forgive her though,
Okay.
because we love her. No problem, Charlie. Mike, one other thing, are you going to mention the PO generator at some point as well?
Yes, I'm going to mention that.
Okay.
In fact, I'll mention that right now. I was going to have that to be at the end, but I will.
Oh, okay.
Yes, let's go into that right now. Okay, we created in purchasing, we created a purchase order generator program. And the reason we did that was that we needed a way to allow you to totally eliminate the manual keying of purchase orders. So if you're using reorder levels, for example, when the on-hand quantity plus whatever is below, then we're just going to place an order. And then there needs to be a calculation of, well, when we order, how much are we going to order? So we developed this purchase order generator for that. Then immediately we started seeing that there's other ways. For example, people who are using shop floor control and have outside operations, we're using the PO generator for outside operations as well. But let me demonstrate this, how this works. I'll go through this a few times. Now remember, there's rules behind this that are unique to every company. So based on my rules, these are the items that need to be ordered today. And we'll go through this a few times. So let's just take a look at this. Okay, normally I would have to key this in, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to say yes, yes, yes. And this is test data. So I know that this has to be ordered in increments of 100. Then I'll say create the purchase order, and there it is. Now here, you can make changes. If you wanted to choose another vendor, you could, because this is the primary vendor. If you wanted to remove this item from the purchase order, if you wanted to add another item, you could. All of these, the contact information is available. I can choose whether I want it to be unreleased, released, or printed. I can change these dates if I want to. But the idea being that I don't have to key it in manually. The system also looks for um, um, the order increments, the order, I forget the exact word, I have to buy this in boxes of 100, or I have to have a minimum of 100. Um, Now, when I hit save, then what it's doing is it's creating this order. So it's no different than if I went into Macola, pressed F5 to assign 17700 as my next order number. Okay, so we're going to come back to this.
Great.
And then these would disappear. And then you would go back, you'd go down to the next vendor. So again, I'm
And
clicking here.
Mike, when you
Yeah.
print that PO, does it pulls the PO form from whatever Macola version you're on, correct?
No, that you have to print it. You have to print it separately because some people
Yeah.
fax them, some people email them, some people print them. So no, this is just creating the purchase order. But
So then you
a
go
lot of
into
people,
Macola and print.
yeah, a lot of people never print them. They never issue them. They call the vendor up and say, I want to order such and such. So for some people, the concept of having it, they want to get to the print status, but they're really not going to print it. But let's go through this again. What we've done is we've added columns here that tell you, like, let's look realistically at this item here. It's telling us to order some, but we haven't used any in the past 12 months. We have a reorder level that looks way out of whack. Nobody knows how some of these numbers got in here. So this is here for you as a buyer to say, before you click this and say, I want to order this, because it may have been that it told you to order 1,000, and you would have a chance now of saying, this is not correct, and then just not order it. So that's what these fields are here, and you can add pretty much any field that you want to in Macola, but we basically have on hand, on order, allocated, 3, 6, and 12-month usage, the reorder level, the order up to level. Now, a lot of people don't talk about this, but this is you've set that I only want to have a 2-month supply on hand. So that would be my maximum. Let's say I use 100 a month, and I only want to have 4 months. So that means my order up to level would be 400. So let's go down and look at another one here. Here's our Akron people that we looked at before. So you can see here, this is just test data. These recommended order quantities are not correct. But again, I'm going to say yes, 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 yes. I want to skip this for some reason. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to say create the purchase order. And there's the purchase order. And this quantity would show up in yellow if you had violated any order multiple or order minimum. And it is showing you the total cost, the total weight, and the total cubic meters as well. So let's go back and look at this a little bit differently. These are all of the items that need to be ordered, but let's say that I just wanted to, I am buyer Pete Bowers, and I just want to order for the Cincinnati location. Now I could order for one specific vendor, or I could order for all vendors. And then when I close that and say refresh, then it's only going to bring up the items that are for me, for Pete Bowers in the Cincinnati location. Now, what I want to show here is that you can have different criterias. Like maybe maybe you're going to have a reorder set of rules for your C parts. Maybe they're fasteners, maybe they're items that you're going to handle a little bit differently. And then in my case here, I have this 2 different criteria, and some of them are real simple, and some of them are extensive. So let's take a look at what we had here. This was our simplest. This would be the SQL. Like this, these are the rules, but they're converted into computers. If I go down here you can see this one is far more extensive. This is doing all kinds of validating. It's doing all kinds of calculations. Um, it has all kinds of different rules built into it. This is from one of our customers. So again, it's as simple as you want it to be, but the idea being that when you hit refresh and you work on this vendor, that there's no, I didn't do that right. There's no manual keying. So the whole point of this is to eliminate the tediousness, the drudgery of keying in purchase orders one by one by one. And I mentioned also that if you want to use these for outside operations, for shop floor, that works well. Like we have a customer that has a minimum of one outside operation for every single shop order. And in some cases, they may be multiples. It may be that they send them out for cleaning, they send them out for deburring, they send them out for anodizing. So this handles all of that on the floor. People in the office don't get involved at all. It just throughout the day, they're just constantly generating purchase orders. They're just basically just refreshing this screen here for outside operations. So this is pretty slick. Any questions anybody has? I see questions and a hand up. Stacy, any?
Yep. I've got a couple here. So going back to the MRP detail, and you had mentioned it was for POP. I got a couple questions. You know, the first one that's a little more detailed is if everything is custom built and you have an order based on sales orders, do you have to decommit a customer that has been scheduled an order requiring a long lead time order, and they don't want to decommit? If they need to schedule that inventory for an order, you want it to keep on that order. Can you allow it to do that, or is that a rule that will work?
Can you say that again?
Okay, let me read you exactly. Everything is custom built, and we order based on sales orders. So you're ordering from the vendor based on a sales order.
You don't want to okay. Yeah, keep going.
You don't want to decommit a customer that has a schedule order requiring an item that has a long lead time based on a new order that customer wants now. They want to hold the inventory for the scheduled order. Can they do that?
Yeah, you definitely can do that.
Basically pegging or hard allocating is kind of
well, no, the way you would do that is you're just going to have you're going to have the real due date. You know, so let's say that the due date was this Friday, but you're missing some components. You want to order the inventory, but maybe it's not going to come in for 3 weeks. So if you left the due date as today, then when that replenishment comes in, all the components then would be favored towards that order. So yes,
it'll go in date order.
It goes in date order, right? It's going in date order for who's going to get it when it does arrive. What orders are going to get the replenishment when the replenishment arrives? What I thought you were going for was
but kind of this question sounds like if we got a new order that the customer wants now, if that date is in there, will it change that allocation? You know, is it date order by order ship date or by order entry date? And it's by required date, correctly?
Well, it's it's the date that you choose in the MRP setup. That's why those fields, that field is so important. Like when it basically is saying that when the replenishment arrives, you have to know what orders is that replenishment for, and you're divvying that out. You're giving that out based on the oldest order first.
But if you have, so going at it from another angle, same scenario, but if you get an order for that item from a different customer, are you able to tell it not to consume that material for a different customer.
You can sort of like, let's make believe that we have, I think we have data here we can look at. Just a second. Okay, here's a good example. I don't know what this is, but this is huge amounts of. Okay, let's just use this as an example. Here's a shipping carton, and we're short on shipping cartons, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 30 production orders that need that shipping carton, and these are the dates that is promised. So when that shipping carton arrives, then the idea is that we're going to. I have to do this. Yeah. A second. There, that'll solve it. When it does arrive, then this one gets it because this was due on the 17th, this was due on the 18th, and so on. Yeah, because this is our MRP detail file is the same as Macola's MRP regeneration file. So it has customer orders in it. It has purchase order replenishments, it has forecasts, and it has production demand, and it has production replenishments. So, but let me show something that what some people want is this isn't answering that question, but this is part of what I wanted to show before we end here, is that we have production orders, and so somebody will say, well, show me just my shortages. Well, that's this program right here. But if other people say, show me the entire bill of material for this order. So here it is, this order 19997. This is the bill of material. And if I look down a little bit further here, you can see that I have, well, let's find one that's negative. Well, I feel like I'm running out of time here, so let me just pick one to prove the point here. The point being that if I saw an item here that's negative, okay, this one's negative. I needed 40, I don't have any. Do I have it on, this is the point of this, is do I have it on order, yes or no? I do not have it on order. See, I see it says 0 on order. This one above it, I need some, and I want to see, I'm clicking here, and it's showing me that I have one order existing for 1,000. So going back to that question earlier would be that if I was to look down and I could see I needed 500 or needed 955, or I needed 9, whatever, and I only had one on order, I would know that I'm in trouble. So this is the report that shows you the full bill of material and what's on order, what is short. If I go here to this report, everything is short.
Right.
Everything is negative. And the idea being, if it's negative, do I have it on order or not? Now, in this particular case, I did. I'm looking for ones that, okay, right here. I'm short. I have none on order. So we're really just looking at the flexibility of the software that we have. And then
one other question that came is that the MRP does not need to go through the region every night. It's more of a real-time MRP situation.
Oh, yes. This is real-time. And I'll just demonstrate that right now. I'm in the MRP detail report, and I am going to double-click on here and refresh this report. So there, it did that right there. That was a complete MRP, and this is a full database of one of our customers. This is a full MRP regen, no 10 minutes, no 5 hours. There it is. And this is the example here where I have an item, and then these are the layers in MRP that are saying for this grommet I have 3 forecast orders, I have 2 demand production orders, and it's showing you here what the order number is. And again, my dates are getting screwed up there. So the idea being that everybody's going to use this differently. And so the idea would be that, you know, you can work with our support department, or me or Stacy, and find the right tools within our software that are available. Now, there's nothing wrong with Macola's MRP. In fact, we do a large amount of business helping people get that set up. It's just an extremely tedious it's like a Rubik's Cube. There's just a lot of things going on. With our MRP, it's what we call the no setup. As long as those dates are accurate, then it's going to give you what you're looking for. And the majority of people are saying, just show me the shortages, show me the shortages. So, and that's where we're just going to look here, again, based on how many days out we want to go. And that's a full regen. And then I drill down into each item to figure out what I'm going to do if I'm the production planner. So I hope that this today was enlightening. Maybe it's giving you hope that there are tools out there that you can take advantage of. Everything that we've looked at today may not be licensed for your company. Like, not too many people have the recalc program. Not too many people have the PO generator. But the idea being that you know, we can work with you. You can call our support department to talk about, you know, this is what you're trying to achieve, and how can we work it out with the software. So thank you very much for your ongoing support of our software. If you have any questions, you know that you can go up to help, about, and then this is our support desk number right here. So thanks everybody for your attention today and your support of our software. And any questions on what we talked about today, because we covered a lot of bases, feel free to give us a call or send us an email. Okay, thanks. Have a good rest of the week.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks. Bye-bye.